loves, my name is Jessica Diamond and welcome to my channel. First things first, sorry about the lighting. It's after 8 o'clock at night. I don't know when I'll be filming these reviews. This might be normal. If you haven't checked out my review of the first episode, I'm going to leave it linked up there before. And if this is your first time seeing my face, I also do a whole bunch of makeup videos, and I love Disney, and of course I love horror. Otherwise, why would I be attempting to do these reviews every single week? That should be up every single Wednesday. Alright, so I think that's all I gotta say. Let's dive into this episode. I got my notes here, so let's talk American Horror Story Cult Episode 2, Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. I got a brief log line here. If you don't know what a log line is, it's a very, a few words, sentences of each character, of like an in general synopsis kind of the episode. Allie's agoraphobia, I believe it's the fear of clowns. I hope I'm saying the phobia name correctly, intensifies. Of course, Oz starts having his own fear of clowns and they're in his nightmares, and at the end of the episode he believes he's having a nightmare, but we know it's real, like actually happening. So I don't know if that means that maybe Oz has like more, like he is hallucinating clowns and believes that they're nightmares but it's actually happening. Let's see. Alright, Winter and Oz become closer when Winter does kind of the pinky to pinky, how we saw in the first episode between Kai and Winter. We don't really know if that's more of like a cult thing or if it really is kind of a mechanism to calm each other down. That's kind of the way Winter uses it for Oz to give his fears to hers. Also in this episode we have Kai. He releases the video as predicted in the end of the episode where he attacked the Hispanics and the Hispanics are fighting him back, but of course only part of video that the public in this episode is going to see is the part where the Hispanics attack Kai. Kai uses this video to use it as more leverage for him to run for the vacant seat on City Council, which we learn the vacant seat, there's a seat vacant in the City Council because of Mr. Chang, who was murdered, which I believe further proves my theory in the last episode. So Mr. Chang was on the council and kind of proves that Kai had him murdered to get his more, like, to give him more of a position of power. And also in this episode we have new neighbors that are already moving into Chang's house. And they're weird beekeepers, basically. Don't know how to feel about them quite yet. And at the end of this episode, Winter basically comes on to Allie when they're having, when Allie's being stressed, and Winter fixes her bubble bath and starts scrubbing her down. And all of a sudden that gets interrupted when the alarm goes off and the power goes out, and the final scene is Ivy's concerned for Allie, so she sends Pedro over with some candles and a charger for her phone, and Allie shoots Pedro. So there you go. That was the sum of this episode. Well, let's talk about my standout scenes for this episode. The use of Twisty as a whole. He's first used in this episode as a part of Oz's nightmare. I really like that they're bringing in Twisty kind of more as like the scary clown, kind of the horror, as he started out in Freak Show, but then sympathy built up with Twisty because of his backstory. So I really like that they're using a familiar face to us American Horror Story fans and actually using him kind of as a horror mechanism. He's also still used as kind of the pop culture icon. Last episode was comic books, and this one Winter gives Oz a doll of Twisty. Alright, the biggest standout scene for me was when Kai goes to Allie's door announcing that he is running for the council office space, and he gives her his card, like wanting to vote, and then it just goes into this very intense dialogue. I just really liked the scene because it highlighted Evan Peters' amazing acting capabilities, and I really liked the kind of the play on words where Kai was kind of using the excuses to try and get in the house that we've seen a million times in horror movies, like, oh, my car is broken, can I come in and use your phone? Or I need to use the bathroom. It's really hot, can I get a drink of water? Like, we've heard, if not those exact words, but something similar in horror movies like that before, so the murderer can get into the victim's home. And I just thought that was a fun, intense scene. And of course, the last standout scene I have is the last scene in the entire episode when the power goes out. Allie's going around locking all the windows. She gets a candle. She goes to try to punch in the alarm code, and then she goes to like the power breaker box, I assume that is, and discovers that all the wires are cut. And hey, there is a clown in there who I believe the clown is Kai, because the voice sounded like Evan Peters' voice to me. One funny part, kind of an eye-rolling funny part, was when the clown first goes into Oz's bedroom and Oz wakes him like, is this a nightmare? And this is when we hear, I believe it's Evan Peters' voice, and be like, yeah, it's just a dream. And Oz just goes back to sleep. Of course, this whole power out scene, it leads to Allie getting Oz to get out of the house because she sees the ice cream truck in front of the old Chang's house, which is the same ice cream truck we saw in episode 1 with the clowns before they murdered the Changs. And Allie, being freaked out, she opens the door for her and her son to escape, and she gets spooked and shoots Pedro, who is a worker in her restaurant, who was just going there for Ivy to give Allie some chargers and candles and such. So those were my standout scenes. My overall thoughts of this episode, I thought it was so much better than the first episode. I'm gonna admit something. When I was watching the episode, I checked it around like 7:30, 30 minutes in. I'm like, oh, this episode's moving really slow. So the episode didn't really pick up for me until around 30 minutes into it, with about probably 26 minutes left or something like that. With, of course, the starting scene with Kai going to Allie's house to introduce himself. And then the power out scene. So I did feel like this was better than the first episode, and it felt more horror, at least in the last 20 minutes. I really liked, okay, the first episode, as I talked about, it was all a realistic politic bullshit stuff we're facing today, and I felt like this was definitely more in its horror elements, and more of the social issues were more subtle in a way. They weren't slammed in our face with the name dropping of Trump or his voice, and same with Hillary Clinton. So I liked how, in a way, this did bring up social issues. There was dropping about immigration and gun control, when the new neighbors have all these guns that Allie goes to, and she gets a gun from them to feel safety. And also, of course, when the thing that kind of cracked me up was when Allie called Ivy. She's like, oh my god, what if this is Russia? What if this is ISIS? Sorry, I'm R, so don't take offense, please. So yeah, what if this is North Korea or ISIS or anything like that? So I kind of thought those were more, those were kind of the subtlety I wanted to, want throughout the whole season of Cult. If you're going to address election stuff and how our world is today, I want to be done in a more subtle way, kind of like how it was in this episode, and not so in our face and literal in the first episode. Theories. I think the new neighbors are a part of the clown cult, although previews for the next episode I think is going to disprove that, because it seems like those new neighbors are going to get into some trouble with the clowns themselves. And honestly, I'm kind of excited for the next episode, the previews, and this episode was better. It kind of re-sparks the hope I have for this season. And yeah, probably, you know, in my last review I gave the first episode like a 7. I probably should have stuck with a 6.5. But for this episode, for episode 2, I'm giving it a 7 to a 7.5. maybe like a 7.3. I don't want to be so generous with my ratings, but I did enjoy this episode. But like I said before, the first half of the episode felt really slow moving to me, and it didn't quite pick up until like, you know, the third, fourth, and fifth act. In case you didn't know, there's typically around 5 to 6 acts in a television show. It varies for each show. Those are kind of my thoughts. I still don't know how to feel about Winter. I don't know why. Hi, baby. I don't know how to feel about Winter. I mean, I know she's supposed to be like crazy and creepy. She's the world's worst babysitter, that's for sure. But I don't know why Allie and Ivy are like keeping her. I guess to them she hasn't quite done anything wrong. What she does wrong is literally just between her and Oz. And I'm really just, you know, this episode just kind of made me more excited to see more, or want more of Kai's storyline, and I want to see more of him and Winter, and I'm really just mostly interested in Kai's storyline for the moment. And I liked this episode. I don't think it was too over the top with the phobias like last episode was. That was so over the top with the clowns having sex and the whole phobia is just overdone. I felt this was more subtle, and I like that kind of horror, not so much in your face. And let me know your thoughts down below of what you thought of episode 2, and yeah, I hope you like this review. Let me know down below. Let's start a conversation. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to love others, but first and foremost, always love yourself, because you're beautiful no matter what anyone else says. Bye!